forget. When I flow, I'm a hit, and I know I'm the kid. I'm a soul, don't forget. I'ma blow up with it. Got my flow so vivid. Here we go, just beginning. Yeah, I throw every inning. Got my flow so legit. All I know is my shit. Here I go, they come with. Post Malone in this bitch. Rock star making hits. Got guitar in this shit. Leaving scars cause we lit. All these bars that I spit. Yeah. Let's go, let's go. Let's go. If I know what I want, then I know what I get. If I go, they come with, cause they know I get lit. I'm a pro, not a myth, and my flow got some wit. Never slow, drink a fit. I get hype, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. I get hype for this shit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. I get hype for this shit. That's right. I stay loose, I stay hype. I stay loose, I stay hype. I stay loose, I stay hype. I could do this all night, cause I do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Sipping goose, sip is right. And I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. Yeah, they know I'm a pro. Let's go, let's go! Yeah! Let's go! If I go, I'ma get. When I flow, I'm a hit, and I know I'm the kid. I'm a soul, don't forget. I'ma blow up with it. Got my flow so vivid. Here we go, just beginning. Yeah, I throw every inning. Got my flow so legit. All I know is my shit. Here I go, they come with. Post Malone in this bitch. Rock star making hits. Got guitar in this shit. Leaving scars cause we lit. All these bars that I spit. Yeah. Let's go, let's go! Let's go! If I know what I want, then I know what I get. If I go, they come with, cause they know I get lit. I'm a pro, not a myth, and my flow got some wit. Never slow, drink a fit. I get hype, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time. It's time for another pro wrestling pay-per-view this weekend. We are getting these pay-per-views literally every week now, all across the board, whether it's Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, wrestling all the time, and there's nothing more as pro wrestling fans that we can ask for. So I'm excited to do this show tonight. But before we do that, I do want to pay tribute. I do want to send my condolences. We lost a wrestling legend over the last couple days. New Jack, ECW legend, pro wrestling legend, tragically passed away. And I do want to send my thoughts and prayers to his fans, his family, and everyone who was ever associated with New Jack, a wrestling legend. And if we know anything about legends, is that legends live forever. So rest in paradise to New Jack. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Angle Podcast prediction and preview show for Impact Wrestling's Under Siege 2021, happening in a little while, about a couple hours away. still some time to order that pay-per-view. I believe this is going to be the first pay-per-view that's not on Fight TV. I'm not sure if what they're doing. I saw there was a thing on there, Fight TV, saying after a certain day in May, they're not featuring any Impact Wrestling. You're going to have to get Impact Wrestling Plus. So I don't know if that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I don't want to send fans to the wrong place. But from what I saw, I think this is going to be the first one specifically or only on Impact Wrestling Plus. Now, tonight's card, a huge, huge card. We have matches featuring Impact Wrestling talent. We have matches featuring AEW talent. We have matches featuring New Japan Pro Wrestling talent. This kind of feels like a super show, if you ask me. And it's bound to be a fantastic pay-per-view. And I want to start right now talking about a specific match that I'm looking forward to. It's a number one contendership for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles, but it features a bunch of X-Division superstars, which is very unique and something different that I think Impact Wrestling is doing. And I'm excited for this whole match we're going to have. I think it's a fatal four-way match for the Impact Wrestling number one contendership for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles. We have Ace Austin teaming with his partner Madman Fulton, taking on TJP and Petey Williams, taking on XXXL, taking on Rohit Raju and Shera. This is going to be one of those matches that it's going to be a standout match on this pay-per-view. I'm really looking forward to this match. Ace Austin just coming off a second X-Division championship run. TJP, the same a few months ago, losing that X-Division championship. Rohit Raju also being a former X-Division champion, losing that. Petey Williams being one of the best ever to do it, really, in the X-Division. So this match is featuring a lot of X-Division talent, but also some heavier fit men, if you ask me. You have Madman Fulton, XXXL, and Shera. Three different dynamics there, three different groups of powerhouses. Mixing with the X-Division, it's bound to be a fantastic match. I believe it might start the pay-per-view, I'm not sure. But if it does, I'll be excited to see what happens here. Now, like I said, Ace Austin being a former X-Division champion. Late in the summer of 2020, I did have the opportunity to interview Ace Austin. It was right after he actually lost his first X-Division championship, and we kind of talked about where he saw himself going from there. He said he wants to see himself going to the main event picture, becoming a world champion. I even asked him, I said, would you be interested in going to the tag team division and being a tag team champion? Before Madman Fulton even came into the picture, which is kind of strange. Actually, it's kind of crazy that it worked out like that. And he said he's willing to do whatever he has to do to be a champion in Impact. And he's done that ever since that interview, really. And now tonight, getting another shot to be a tag team champion in Impact, or be a champion in Impact. We have TJP with the unique pairing with Petey Williams. Petey Williams recently returned to Impact Wrestling, doing some stuff with Alexander Wolf. Let's see here. Let's see who else we have in this match. Or not Alexander Wolf. Am I talking about Josh Alexander? I don't know what I had to just correct myself there. Josh Alexander, the X-Division champion with Petey Williams. But tonight, it's TJP and Petey Williams. We have XXXL, who's been on a warpath over the last year or so. And like I said, Rohit Raju and Sheer finally getting back together, finding that gel that they were missing, that juju that they needed to get things rolling again. This is a prediction show, so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. I want to say that for this match, I am predicting the inevitable, and that is the inevitable Ace Austin and Madman Fulton winning this match to go on and become the number one contenders for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship. I think that Ace Austin and Madman Fulton have the best dynamic out of all of these guys. They have the most, I guess you could say, experience-wise. XXXL being a tag team for quite some time in Impact. Rohit Raju and Shearer having previous history before this new pairing again. But I think that if it comes down to chemistry, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, over the last year have been dominating everything they've been a part of. So I am going to have to go with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton on this match. hopefully becoming the new number 1 contenders for the X division. I'm so used to saying X division with Ace Austin and Madman Filton, hopefully becoming the new number 1 contenders for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship. Now, we saw this match kind of play out over the last week or two or so. Brian Myers really getting how do I want to put this? Being put in a decent storyline with his former best friend, formerly known as Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. Now being introduced to a new story with Black Taurus, who is a member of Decay with Crazy Steve and Rosemary. I think tonight this is kind of a way to kind of expand Black Taurus, but also keep Brian Myers on the correct page, that is having success in Impact Wrestling. So I think tonight we're going to see a unique match. Probably not going to be a long match, but I do see Black Taurus getting the win over Brian Myers just because of what has transpired over the last week or so. If this is being done to grow Black Taurus, I think this is the way to do it, getting a huge win over Brian Myers tonight. Impact Wrestling Under Siege 2021. Now, over the last few weeks, we have seen so much happen in the Knockouts division, but more importantly, we have seen a return over 10 plus years of Taylor Wilde. She is back in Impact Wrestling. She's back in the Knockouts division. She's back in wrestling, period. 10 plus years away from the business, and she's finally back. And tonight, she's pairing with Tenille Dashwood. We don't know if this is exactly a face turn for Tenille, but we have seen over the last few weeks, ever since she lost to Deonna Purrazzo at the last pay-per-view, she's kind of been on a new path or a new direction, going in a new direction. I think this is going to be a unique pairing just because Tenille has been on her own with Caleb with a K over the last while, really. Taylor Wilde is finally getting back into the groove of things. A unique pairing. On the other side, we have Kimberly and Susan, who have been together for the last couple months, being side by side with the Knockouts champion, that is Deonna Purrazzo. And I think they have better chemistry. But if you're going to put all these 4 women in the ring, I think when it comes down to experience and technical ability and overall motivation to get the job done, you have Taylor Wilde, who's finally back trying to reprove herself to the Knockouts division, but really to the Impact Wrestling universe. And also Tenille Dashwood, who's also trying to get back into the groove of things after that huge loss to Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts Championship. So I'm going to predict here, Taylor Wilde and Tenille Dashwood are going to become victorious over Kimberly and Susan in that tag team Knockouts match. Now, speaking of returns, there has been a huge debut in Impact Wrestling over the last few weeks. We saw it play out at the last, was it the last pay-per-view or so? I don't know when it was. But formerly known as Big Cass, formerly known as Kaz XL, now known as W. Morrissey. He is making an impact, pun intended, in Impact Wrestling. And tonight, he is looking to take out Willie Mack. Now, the last time we saw these two in the ring, it was in a 6-man tag team match. Or was it 6 or was it 4? I think it was 4. It was Violent by Design taking on James Storm, Chris Sabin, Willie Mack, and Eddie Edwards. And in that match, W. Morrissey got the pin over Willie Mack to get the win for his team. So that's kind of where this feud started, and I think we're going to see the end of it tonight. I'm predicting that although Willie Mack is great in the ring and he's a former X-Division champion, he's done phenomenal things in his career, I think it's not enough to get the job done tonight against W. Morrissey. I think Morrissey is just on a warpath, looking to prove himself to the wrestling world, to himself, really, that he is, one, in the best shape of his life, which we can all see, but two, really, that he is back in the groove of things because he's been through such a rough time over the last couple of years. I think this is his moment. This is his time to shine and really prove to himself that he is back and that he is here to, like I said, make an impact. So W. Morrissey, I am predicting getting a win over Willie Mack. This match is going to be, I think it's going to be a good one. There are so many other matches on this card, and before we do that, I do want to not necessarily cut a commercial, but kind of promote myself here. And yeah, this is the Angle Podcast prediction and preview show for Impact Wrestling Under Siege 2021. And if you're not familiar with me or the Angle Podcast, I would love for you to check me out here. You can check me out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Anywhere you like to stream podcasts, you can check out the Angle Podcast. If you are watching right now, you are watching on the Angle Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe down below. Stay up to date with all the Angles activity on YouTube right here, and also all the other stuff that's going to be going down on YouTube. There's interviews, specials, prediction and preview shows, full reviews, belt reviews, so many things. The huge list of wrestling content, all available to you for free right here on YouTube. So please, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get to that big number of 500 subscribers. I am slowly climbing there. We're almost there. 500 subscribers, only done with your help. So please like and subscribe right now down below. You can also check out all of the information for the Angle Podcast and about me story of why the podcast was started, where I plan to go with it, see all my guests, blogs, different things, all on the angleradio.com. You can check that out there. You can see it on the screen, www.theangleradio.com. So many unique things on that website that you really don't get to see on my Twitter or my social media pages. Being blogs, I am a writer at heart. I've been writing blogs about all my interviews that I've done, all different wrestling events that I've gone to. So if you are a reader and you love pro wrestling, go check those out. And like I said, everything for you is there. All the Angle Podcast information is available to you all there, theangleradio.com. You can check me out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and where you are watching right now, the Angle Podcast YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Now, like I said, there are so many matches going down tonight for this pay-per-view, and another knockouts match I want to discuss is for the Knockouts Tag Team Championship. We have the new Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Jordynne Grace and Rachael Ellering. This is going to be their first defense as a tag team, but first defense holding those titles. They're going to be facing Fire and Flava. This match is it's actually a rematch from the last pay-per-view where Fire and Flava lost those titles to Rachael Ellering and Jordynne Grace. And I think the biggest factor here, and you don't see her promoted in this, in any of the promos really, but Jazz is the manager for Rachael Ellering and Jordynne Grace. She is the former tag team partner of Jordynne Grace. They failed a few times to take those titles off Fire and Flava, and it got to the point where Jazz was put in a retirement match against Deonna Purrazzo. If she had lost, she had to retire from her in-ring career with Impact Wrestling, and that's exactly what happened. So, very short amount of time, Jordynne Grace found a new tag team partner in Rachael Ellering, and also still has Jazz by her side as their manager. And speaking of Jazz, I had the opportunity to sit down for an interview with Jazz this week, and that will be available to you this upcoming Tuesday. I believe it is May 18th, right here on the Angle Podcast YouTube page. So please like and subscribe. You can stay up to date and watch that interview on Tuesday. We talk about her journey through pro wrestling, getting started with ECW, being influenced by Paul Heyman, making her way to the WWF and WWE, holding women's championships all around the world, really being one of the only women to ever be in ECW, WWE, WWF, NWA, AEW, Impact Wrestling, ECW, like I said, and so many others. She is really a wrestling legend. She's the phenom, Jazz, and like I said, that interview will be available this Tuesday. We discuss more along the lines of the women's division, the women's evolution, women's revolution, and if she thinks she'll be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and if she is, who she would love to have induct her. So, very interesting interview with Jazz. We also spoke a little bit off camera about this particular match, the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match for tonight, and she refused to give me information regarding that match because she told me, she's like, it's going to be a good one, stay tuned. And now I'm even more excited for this pay-per-view, but specifically this match because of how Jazz really was able to hype me up about that match. So I have to predict, after talking with Jazz, after seeing what all these teams have done in the ring thus far, I have to predict that Jordynne Grace and Rachael Ellering are going to retain their Knockouts Tag Team Championship. Now, the match, or one of many matches that I am looking forward to on this pay-per-view, it is for the X-Division Championship. It's Josh Alexander, the new X-Division champion, and very much deserving X-Division champion, taking on New Japan Pro Wrestling's El Phantasmo. Elfie, really, this match, we saw El Phantasmo debut this past week on Impact Wrestling, or was it last week? I'm not even sure anymore. And it was last week, and he did some phenomenal things in the ring. And if you're not familiar with his work, he is a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's part of the Bullet Club, and tonight he's getting a chance to take the X Division Championship back to New Japan. And I think that Josh Alexander is ready to put up a fight. He's ready to fight, and I think without a shadow of a doubt, we are going to see Josh Alexander retain his X Division Championship because he fought too long and too hard to get to where he is right now to be the X Division champion. I don't think in his first defense he is going to go, he's not going to lay down whatsoever. He's going to put up a fight all the way to the end, and I think that's way too much for El Phantasmo to handle. So without shadow of a doubt in my mind, Josh Alexander is going to retain the X Division Championship. Now the Knockouts Championship match, I always say Knockouts Women's. I don't know why I do that. But the Knockouts Championship, I see Bold Prediction Wrestling in there. It says, hey, sorry, I'm being covered right now by the matches right here. I didn't see the chat, but I do see Bold Prediction Wrestling. How are you? And thank you for tuning in to this prediction and preview show. If you're just tuning in right now, this is the Angle Podcast prediction and preview show for Impact Wrestling Under Siege 2021 that is going down in just a few hours. We're discussing all of the matches that are taking place tonight, giving predictions, expert analysis. I've had the opportunity to interview a lot of the superstars on this card. So I'm kind of giving backstories as to who I think is going to win and whatnot, just based upon who I've spoken to and what we've spoken about. So right now we're talking about the Knockouts Championship match. Deonna Purrazzo defending against Havok. Havok and Nivea really over the last few weeks or last few months were in the finals of the Knockouts Championship match, Knockouts Tag Team Championship match, and since then have just fallen apart completely. Had a short feud after that. Havok is in revenge mode, and she's very angry, and she wants to reclaim her top spot in the Knockouts division, and she has to go through Deonna Purrazzo. But I think right now, Deonna Purrazzo is the best women's wrestler in the world, the most technical women's wrestler in the world right now. She's on too much of a hot streak. When I spoke to D'Lo Brown a few weeks ago, I asked him specifically who he thought would be, who is, in his mind, really, the future of Impact Wrestling. And he said, without a shadow of a doubt, Deonna Purrazzo is going to be the face of the Knockouts division for many years to come, but also the face of Impact Wrestling. She's a huge star in the making. She's already a huge star. The way she holds herself, or the way she presents herself outside of the ring, inside the ring, she is just a star all around. And Deonna Purrazzo really being one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. So I cannot go against my girl Deonna Purrazzo, repping New Jersey. She is going to retain her Knockouts Championship tonight over Havok. And I think that is going to be an excellent, excellent match. Havok being a powerhouse, Deonna Purrazzo being a technical submission specialist. I think it's going to be a great, great match with great chemistry. Deonna Purrazzo has to walk out still Knockouts champion. Now, one of the main events for this pay-per-view, and I'm very excited for it, it is AEW World Champion, Impact Wrestling World Champion, Kenny Omega tagging with the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, to take on FinJuice and Eddie Edwards. This match is featuring all these different companies. We have AEW, we have Impact Wrestling, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling, all featured in one match with 6 guys. This match is going to steal the show, in my opinion. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers really have just been on a war path ever since reclaiming or taking the Impact world title from Rich Swann at the last pay-per-view Rebellion, but really also since becoming the AEW World Champion. The Good Brothers have been by his side throughout the whole thing, and I kept predicting that maybe the Good Brothers would stick with Impact Wrestling, but they have just kind of been traitors the entire time, really standing side by side with their brother Kenny Omega at the top of the wrestling mountain. But Eddie Edwards is the flagship bearer. He is the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling, and he's not going to go down without swinging. So tonight, I think this is going to be the match of the entire night. You have the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, FinJuice, who are from, like I said, New Japan Pro Wrestling. This match featuring all this talent, all these companies. Match of the night, hands down, it's going to be. But I do have to predict that Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, are going to get the win in this match, because over the last few weeks, we saw the Good Brothers try to get back their Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship from FinJuice, unsuccessfully, losing it once and then losing the rematch. So I think tonight we're going to see the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega get some revenge and take a win over Eddie Edwards and FinJuice. But like I said, like I keep saying, this is going to be the match of the night. Now, speaking of the new Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, Kenny Omega, he needs a new contender. He needs a new number one contender. He needs a new opponent for that title. And there are so many deserving Impact Wrestling stars who are just waiting in line for their shot. Tonight, we have a 6-way main event, number one contendership match that over the last few weeks, we've had a tournament really to crown who will be the 6 men in this match. We have Chris Sabin. We have Chris Bay. We have Sami Callihan. We have Mack Cardona. We have Trey Miguel. And we have Moose. Now, all of these guys have held gold, besides Mack Cardona, really, have held gold in Impact Wrestling. Chris Sabin being a former tag team champion, being a former world heavyweight champion. Chris Bay being a former X-Division champion. Sami Callihan being a former world heavyweight champion. Moose being the former TNA world champion. Trey Miguel having some success in the X-Division and the tag team division. Matt Cardona only being someone who has yet to hold gold in Impact Wrestling. I think all 6 guys have a great claim stake to claim their spot as the number one contender, but there can only be one. And with looking at this match, it's very hard to tell. It can easily be Chris Bay, returning recently, getting this shot to be in this match. It can easily be Matt Cardona getting a win over his former best friend, Brian Myers. It could easily be Trey Miguel, but there's only one person that really stands out to me in this match. And as I'm looking at these 6 guys, there's only one guy who I would love to see go face-to-face in a main event of any show, any pay-per-view against Kenny Omega. Someone who's already been in the ring with Kenny Omega already and shined while doing so. And that is Moose. I want to see Moose get the win in this 6-way number one contendership match, go on to face Kenny Omega, and become the new Impact Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. I see the bold prediction wrestling. The 6-man tag was tough to predict. It was very, very tough to predict. And so was the 6-man main event to name the new number one contender. But I'm going to have to go with Moose on this one. Chris Sabin, Chris Bay, Sami Callihan, Matt Cardona, Trey Miguel, all doing phenomenal things in Impact Wrestling. But like I said, while looking at this promo photo, Moose stands out to me because he never got his rematch after losing the TNA World Championship to Rich Swann in that unification match. And I think he's the biggest threat in this match. So it's only a matter of time before we see Moose enter the main event picture again. We saw at Hard to Kill, I actually got to speak to Moose about that when I interviewed him a few months ago. And we spoke about Hard to Kill, Kenny Omega, and he said Kenny Omega's, the best wrestler in the world, and he wants to get in the ring with him. He hit a Spanish Fly at Hard to Kill on Kenny Omega. I mean, this guy is over 6 6'5", 300 pounds. I mean, this guy doing a Spanish fly off the top rope to the best wrestler in the world. That was the spot of the night, or the spot of that match. He got a lot of praise for that too. So Moose, I think, is the best choice to go against Kenny Omega for the Impact Wrestling Championship. But also, his contract is coming up in June, and they need to entice him with something, obviously, to stay. Backstage news there. Hello. But I think Moose is going to be the one to walk out tonight as the new #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that match will be Kenny Omega defending the Impact Wrestling Championship against Moose. I think that is going to be an excellent, excellent match. All the matches that I just talked about, all the matches going down tonight are going to be banger matches. Impact Wrestling has been doing some excellent work over the last year or so, really being the most consistent company during the pandemic era, being the most consistent, keeping things going, gaining a lot of talent that have dropped from WWE, and really just finding ways for them to shine. So props to Impact Wrestling. I see Will Prediction says Moose is an interesting choice. I could not decide, but I think I had to go with Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan has been doing excellent things in Impact recently, but he also has been taking some losses to Trey Miguel. So my second choice actually was Trey Miguel. It was Moose and then Trey Miguel. Sami Callihan, being a former champion, I don't think he really got his due as that champion. He didn't really hold on to the championship that long. But I would love to see him as a world champion again. Just not right now. I think that Moose has more of a story already going with Kenny Omega. And I don't think he's really done with Trey Miguel either. So maybe we'll see that all come to fruition tonight. But this pay-per-view really shaping up to be a great pay-per-view for Impact Wrestling. I'm excited for it. And there's so much to look forward to going forward after this match. After this pay-per-view, we have so much to look forward to with AEW and Impact and New Japan. And there's been rumors and rumblings of other stars coming to Impact Wrestling. We know that the Iconics, Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Chelsea Green, Samoa Joe, all recently released talent from WWE. Their 90-day no-compete clause will end in July, which is around the time of Slammiversary, which is a big pay-per-view for Impact Wrestling. And last year we saw a lot of talent like EC3 and Eric Eric Young come back into Impact. So there is a possibility that these guys and gals can make their way over to Impact Wrestling. So a lot to start looking forward to with Impact Wrestling. And like Bold Prediction Wrestling said, I'm very new to Impact, but I'm really enjoying it recently. Yes, Impact is doing, like I said, some phenomenal things. I think that tonight is going to be a huge night for them, especially going forward with all these championship directions they have. And like I said earlier, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel. Like this video. I'm almost at 500 subscribers here on YouTube, and we're slowly going to be going to that 1,000 mark. And I would really appreciate your help if you were to do that for me. So please like and subscribe down below, and comment in the comment section which match you are looking forward to most, and even who you think is going to win that match, because I'm really interested to hear your predictions and what you think about Impact Wrestling. Now, normally I would be doing a full review and results show after the pay-per-view, but unfortunately I will not be able to do that tonight due to another outside commitment. So I won't be available to do that, but I will be available tomorrow, and which is WWE WrestleMania Backlash. So you can look out for a prediction and preview show. I'll be live at 5 right here on YouTube, doing a very similar show to this, going over all the matches for WrestleMania Backlash. And then after the pay-per-view, I'll be back for a full results and review show, talk about everything that happened, and really just go over the results. Very detailed analysis I like to give. So for those who don't get to watch the pay-per-views, who don't want to pay the money for the pay-per-views, or just can't afford to watch the pay-per-views, I will be there to give you as much details as possible. So you don't even have to watch it. You can just watch this and enjoy the pay-per-view just as much. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this prediction and preview show for Impact Wrestling Under Siege 2021. We're just a few hours away, and I'll be live tweeting the entire show, so you can come talk along with me. and see if I got any of my predictions right. And I know the people in the chat, if you want to see your predictions right as well, you can tweet me at The Angle Radio, and I'll be available there throughout the entire night talking about Impact Wrestling Under Siege. This night is going to be a great night, not only for wrestling, but for Impact Wrestling. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this prediction and preview show, and I will see you tomorrow for WrestleMania Backlash. Hopefully we have a good night tonight. Hopefully we have some new, interesting storylines and directions for Impact Wrestling. And like always, it is a great time to be a pro wrestling fan. Enjoy your night, stay safe, and enjoy Impact Wrestling Under Siege. I'll see you then.